In 1990, Topps radically changed its design to welcome in a new decade. The 88 and 89 offerings seemed similar and were pretty basic in comparison to the new set's colorful borders. The 1990 run was comprised of 792 cards, a number that would not change until 1993. Featured are 22 All-Stars, 5 Turn Back the Clocks, 10 first draft picks, 3 record breakers, plus team managers. Nolan Ryan was given a salute in the first 5 cards to celebrate his 5,000 career strikeouts. This set shows the first regular issue of Ken Griffey Jr., one of 10 Gold Cup rookies. 5 future stars are also part of the base set. Commissioner A. Bartlett Giamatti also has a card. The 7th head of Major League Baseball died on September 1, 1989. He was given a special card in the 1990 Donruss set with a similar design as their All-Star cards that year, as well as a Score Rookie Dream Team insert, which resembled a painting. Key rookies in this top set are Frank Thomas, Juan Gonzalez, Bernie Williams, Sammy Sosa, Joey Don't Call Me Albert Yet Bell, and Larry Walker. It also boasts the last Topps release of Jim Rice. The only variation, and one of the toughest modern cards to find, is the Frank Thomas no name on front. His entire name was not printed due to an error that also affected surrounding cards on the same printing sheet. I've not heard of any reports of the card being pulled from cello boxes. Supposedly they've only been found in wax and 106 card jumbo packs. Of course, you have to be aware of counterfeit examples. There's talk of more fake than real copies in the public. There are about a dozen uncorrected error cards, mostly misspellings or wrong stats on the card backs. The card of Bill Spires has been reported to be of George Cannell. Can't seem to figure this one out either. From 1987 to 1990, no player positions were listed on card fronts. Topps would rotate between printing them and not over the course of future releases. Prior to 1987, 1972 was the last issue with no player positions on front. I was able to put a complete base set together from wax packs when they were first released. We'll call that set number 1. This will be set number 2 should I complete it or come very close to doing so. Let's see how I do. So this is going to be a quick rip with very little fanfare, and advanced apologies to the likes of Jeff Ballard and Matt Noakes and Cal Daniels, but I'm not going to sit here and read everyone's name. You know the cards, you know the players, and what they look like. After I attempt to put together this base set, I'll be looking out in my dupes pile for cards that would help in some of my PCs, including All-Stars of Wade Boggs, Carlton Fisk, and Tony Gwynn, as well as an Eddie Murray, Tom Glavine, and the record breaker card of Cal Ripken. So yes, it is 30 years since Topps released this 1990 set in the beginning of the calendar year. The borders and colors were very different from that of the 1980s, although examples of these cards suffer from your usual assortment of printing anomalies like ink flares, or fish eyes as they're called, and some poor registration. More important anniversary to tell you all about is the 1-year anniversary of this channel. The Vintage Composer on YouTube was born March 17th of last year. So my next video, which will be on March 18th, next week, will be coincidentally the 100th video on this channel, and I'll be showing a PC of one of my favorite players of all time, so do tune in for that. More facts about the 1990 set. The 1990 Topps Traded set was the first to be distributed in both factory set form and also in 7-card wax packs, which were available in retail stores. Factory sets were available in 2 different boxes: the brown box, whose design looks exactly like the past traded sets that we all know, and a colorful flat box with pictures of the cards shown on each panel. The wax pack versions had gray backs, and the factory cards were printed in a bright white, just like the previous 9 traded sets. The biggest rookie in this set is David Justice. 1990 was the last year that Topps offered the 60-card glossy send-in set. 16 highlight cards are found in 4-card panels at the bottom of wax boxes. That oddball series would end in 1991. There were 15,000 copies of the annual Tiffany set. And I'm not sure how many of the President Bush Yale cards were produced and how many of those were backdoored. Some say 100, I've heard less, but I haven't heard of any being found in cello packs, so I'm probably not going to find it in this rip. So in baseball news, congratulations to the Hall of Fame inductees for 2020. The Modern Era Committee selecting Marvin Miller posthumously and Ted Simmons, and the Baseball Writers Association selecting Derek Jeter and Larry Walker. So Larry Walker was on the ballot for 9 years and wasn't a Hall of Famer, and this year, his last year, on the writers' ballot, and he is a Hall of Famer. I'm not really sure how it works. Do eligible writers get a vote for life, or are they rotated? I'm not really sure how that works. So I'm just curious as to, do you think Walker's votes were seen as pity votes? And if not, then why the wait? And if so, explain why so long for all the others, and why not for those yet to gain entry? Most players from last year's ballot actually increased. Scott Rowland and Billy Wagner doubled their percentages. Curt Schilling went up 10% to 70, so he's on the cusp for next year. And the big surprises for me were those who were first time on the ballot. Paul Konerko got only 2.5%, and Cliff Lee only got 0.5%, 1 vote total. So we got a handful of first-time names on the 2021 ballot. Doesn't look like any shoe-ins on my end here. This coming winter, for the first time, will be the Early Baseball and Golden Days committees casting votes. Inductees, if any, will be enshrined in 2021. The Early Baseball Committee nominates individuals prior to 1950, and the Golden Days Committee from 1950 to 1969. So with the recent induction of some players that people might argue are borderline or not really worthy of Hall of Fame, I'm thinking about how we can make it so there's less argument over who gets in and who doesn't get in, and do they deserve to, and well, if this guy got in, why doesn't this guy? And comparing the positions or the length of time they played. I think you take the physical Hall of Fame, where the plaques are, and you divide it up into the eras that they played. So say from 1886 to 1929, another wing will be 1960 to 1979, and so forth. So there's less debate over, this player should get in because this guy got in. And there's less of that posturing and pandering and sitting on your soapbox. So it's just an idea, I'm not sure. Bunch of free agent signings for the new year. Josh Donaldson to the Twins for $92 million for 4 years. Madison Bumgarner goes to the D-backs. Dallas Keuchel jumps the sinking ship in Houston to go to the White Sox, and then talks about the scandal in some sort of I guess it was a veiled apology, you might say. Garrett Cole to the Yankees, 9 years, $324 million. What would you do with that kind of money? The weird thing about that press conference, he puts the Yankee pinstripes on. You think of all the great players in Yankees history, and you see a big Nike swoosh on the jersey. It's so out of place looking on baseball uniforms. I think we got used to the early advertisements on the NBA jerseys, but that swoosh just looks bad on a Yankees pinstripe jersey. Mookie Betts and David Price are going to LA from Boston. If I'm a Dodgers fan, I'm not going to get too excited. Remember the quote-unquote blockbuster acquisitions of Josh Beckett and Adrian Gonzalez a few years ago? They didn't pan out all that well. So we'll see if Mookie can kickstart the Dodgers back to the postseason. I think David Price is pretty much done since Tampa Bay. He hasn't done anything. He didn't do anything in Toronto or Detroit. And except for that one big playoff win he had in Boston, the only thing he's remembered for is arguing with Dennis Eckersley. So, I don't know. I think Price is done. Lots of new ideas for trying to speed up the game and implement some modern technology. I know electronics is going to be a dirty word around the baseball diamond of late, with all the suspensions, firings, and the black eye around the players and managers of the Red Sox and Astros, teams that have won of late. But the idea of this electronic batter's box, I just can't see Hal from 2001 saying it's not a ball if it is a ball. Interesting. And of course the whole relief pitchers to face a 3-batter minimum or finish the half inning. Is that going to help speed up the game? I don't think so. And then the new thing I read about was the umpires getting mic'd to keep them honest over what they're in conference about when it comes to replays. I think that's going to take up more time. Go back to the first year that the NFL tried the instant replay and wound up giving them a 90-second play clock to get the call in. I just think you eliminate, this is not going to work of course, but this is an idea. I think you can eliminate some of the commercials between innings or do a split screen like they do in the NFL, because teams just don't need to take up 4 minutes plus to switch sides in between innings. And I think pitchers just take way too long in between pitches, and the clock is going to be a distraction. I mean, I remember reading about guys like Warren Spahn and Bob Feller and Bob Gibson. They just went out there, they threw their best stuff, and they challenged the hitters. I mean, they sign these guys as professionals. That's what you do, right? You go out there, you throw your ball, you get it back, and you just do it again. We shall see if all these implementations will take, or if it becomes more of a more problems down the road. It'll take a few years to find out, but this will be the first year we try all of it at once. So you might be able to tell that we have some dupes already in the break, which doesn't bode well for making a complete set. I hope this won't be as bad as the 1989 Donruss wax box I once opened, in which there were 30 or so duplicates of a handful of cards, including the worst card you could possibly pull out of that set, the Diamond King checklist. Imagine having 30 or so of those out of 36 packs. Well, in happy news, with this channel, in the beginning of the year I wound up going to a show and picking up a handful of cards, and wound up finishing 5 more vintage sets in my overall collection. I'll be sharing those with you soon. I got lots of new material coming up on this channel, a small series of videos showing print advertising featuring stars of several sports, anniversaries of special events, more PCs, more autographed magazines and TTMs, and I do hope that you're all keeping alert. So the rest of the break was pretty uneventful, so we cheat time and here we are with an organized partial set. Now when doing a major break like this in terms of quantity, I sort the whole lot into bricks, first into piles of hundreds, then tens, and then we see how many dupes that there were. At the end of the day, 35 packs, 31 cards each, comes to 1,085 cards total. Was I able to make a complete set, you ask? And my answer is no. Came up with 671 out of 792 cards for an 84.7% partial set. Didn't find any King Griffeys, didn't find any Larry Walkers. I did find 3 Frank Thomas cards, all with the names on front, so no variations there. And coincidentally, I was talking earlier about not going to mention anyone's names like Ballard or Noakes, and I didn't find any Ballard or Noakes to begin with, so I'll put those on the wanted list. So I'll put all these away for now, with the intention of completing them down the road. So that's Topps offering from 1990, featuring all the stars and Hall of Famers. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. We'll see you next week.